Hi everyone. So today we are going to be talking about the Byzantine Empire. Before we get started, we need to get your note sheet ready. Okay, so in order to take notes today, you are going to need a piece of paper, something to write with, and a highlighter. Pause the video until you have those. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make our worksheet into a grapes chart like we've done before. All right. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to fold your paper like you're going to put it in an envelope, which would be to fold it into 3 like this, right? And then to fold it again. So you end up with a kind of funky looking little square. Okay. But when you unfold it, you end up with 6 sections. And we're going to label those sections based on our grapes categories. Okay, so GRAPES. We're going to be filling those in as we go through the notes. All right, so get that ready and then play the video again. Our goal is to identify the key concepts of the Byzantine Empire and its achievements. So do those grapes. Okay. If you look at this primary source from Benjamin of Tudela, he was a rabbi, which hopefully your outside information is telling you that he was Jewish. And he's describing the city of Constantinople, which is really the focus of the Byzantine Empire for us. Although we'll look at all sorts of different parts of the society of the empire, the capital, Constantinople, was the most important city. And eventually the empire shrunk down to this only this city. So pause the video, read the primary source, and then move forward, please. So the first section we're going to fill in is geography, looking at the land, the sea, the context. What is the geographic context of everything else we're going to be looking at in terms of the Byzantine Empire? Okay, so first, Constantinople, you can see here in this image, was on a peninsula surrounded on 3 sides by water, right? 1, 2, 3, and was also along the Bosphorus Strait, which is right here. Okay, it was right along that strait, and hopefully you can guess that it's going to be in a great spot for trade. It lasted a really long time as a strong city and as the heart of the Byzantine Empire because of its great location that allowed it to be wealthy. It had a very strong fleet of ships, which makes sense because there was so much water. And on the land side, there was an incredibly strong set of walls, which we'll talk about later as well. This was a trading crossroad between Europe, Africa, and Asia. So it was able to access all sorts of different trade routes at the height of those trade routes when there was so much international exchange happening. This also corresponds with economics, right? So trade is an economic idea. We're writing it in geography and in economic because it is because of the geography that they are able to do so much trade. So the economic statement that there was a lot of trade in Constantinople cannot be removed from its geographic context. Okay? So stop for a second. Think about this question. Please write an answer next to the geography or economic section of your notes. Okay, in terms of religion, as you know from the reading that we looked at before this assignment, Greek to Latin to Greek, there were cultural differences that emerged between what was the Western Roman Empire and what was the Eastern Roman Empire, which we're now calling the Byzantine Empire. Those cultural splits eventually led to a split in the religion between Eastern Orthodox Christianity and Roman Catholic Christianity. Both of these types of religion are Christian. So whether you were Eastern Orthodox or Roman Catholic, these people believed in Jesus, the resurrection, and read the Bible. Specifically, how they worshiped and some of the finer points are what was different. Okay, so you want to write these differences down and see that eventually these 2 branches split. It's the first split in Christianity. Feel free to pause the video to take more of a look at some of the details on these slides. And in 1054 was the official split between the Orthodox Christian Church, Eastern Orthodox, centered in Constantinople, and the Roman Catholic Church in the West, centered in Rome. All right. So again, pause, take a look at some of the similarities and differences, and be ready to ask questions as needed. Okay. Stop and think. Can you think of another disagreement in history that split groups apart? Write your answer next to the religion section of your notes. All right. In terms of politics, what kind of a political system did they have? All right. The most important leader we're going to look at is Justinian. He took power in 527 CE and ruled as an autocrat, so a single ruler with complete authority. The Byzantine Empire carried on many legacies of the Roman Empire, but having a republic, having any type of democracy was not one of them. Justinian had all the power. He made all the decisions by himself. Okay. Some of the things he did, which is he reorganized the law code of the Byzantine Empire. It comes to be called, not surprisingly, Justinian's Code of Law. All right. He simplifies and combines hundreds of years of Roman law into something that's easier to follow and applies to everyone in the empire. He also took his military, went out and reconquered territory that had belonged to the Romans. It had been lost to a variety of invaders and revolts. He went and took it back. However, after he died, that territory shrunk again. Okay. Also very important was his wife, Theodora. She's one of the most powerful women that we look at. She actually became the co-empress with Justinian. She gained notoriety, power during something called the Nika Rebellion. People rose up against Justinian, tried to overthrow him. They did not like what he was doing. He planned on running away, but Theodora said, no, stay, fight. And he stayed, killed all the rebellious individuals, and maintained power for himself. Okay. Theodora is especially important because she really defies the social system. So this is something you would put under social, is that in the Byzantine Empire, women had much less power than men. Much less power than men. Okay? So Theodora rising to be co-empress is incredibly unique. And the amount of power she had was incredibly unique. Okay, so she's a really interesting individual. I will link a video about Justinian and Theodora to give you more information about her. Can you think of other powerful women who have had negative ideas spread about them? Write some examples down next to social, okay? All of the primary sources we have that describe Theodora are incredibly negative about her. But most modern historians believe that that's because the people writing those histories were men and that they were jealous of the power that she had. And that happens to women today, right? That's an enduring issue. So maybe you can think of another woman who has a lot of negative ideas, excuse me, spread about her simply because she's powerful. All right, arts and STEM. There's a lot to fit in this category. All right, so first, what you'll notice is that the Byzantine Empire carries on the legacy of Rome by including domes and arches in all of its architecture. Okay, so domes and arches are one of the most important ideas for you to put down. We see it most especially in the Hagia Sophia, which we'll take a look at. Okay, so domes and arches, please. Also, they are known for their massive thick walls. So you can see here an image of them. There were 3 layers of wall and then a moat. That was along the land side of the city of Constantinople. So Constantinople was protected on 3 sides by water. On the 4th side, they have these really thick walls and moat. What that does is give you a hint into how rich the city was because it had to be protected so much. The Hagia Sophia in Greek translates to Church of Holy Wisdom. Eventually, it is changed. Constantinople is conquered by a group of Muslims that call it the Hagia Sophia, which is simply the Arabic pronunciation of that. The Hagia Sophia was so beautiful that it actually served to attract people to Eastern Orthodox Christianity. Okay, the inside is full of massive windows, domes, arches, light, one of the most beautiful places you'll ever see. Okay. This dome was supposed to look like you were looking up into heaven. It was a huge, wonderful space. I have visited it myself, brought tears to my eyes. It was so wonderful. They also built the Hippodrome. This harkens back to the Roman Colosseum. However, they didn't have gladiator events. It was for chariot racing. Although this structure no longer exists in modern-day Constantinople, renamed Istanbul, these obelisks are. So this is a large open space now. The bricks were reused for other buildings, but these obelisks are still there. You can visit them today. They're also known, the Byzantines, for their mosaic art. You take little pieces of glass and stone, put it together to create a different image, and illuminated manuscripts where the images are basically illustrated. Different letters are made to look more beautiful, and that helped to preserve the Greek and Roman texts. Okay, so they're carrying on that legacy of Roman culture, of Greek culture. However, they're doing it in their own unique way. Okay, most people didn't know how to read and write, so the illumination of the manuscripts was essential. All right. When you think about the document that we started with, so it's not necessarily on your worksheet, it's right here, but how did all of this interaction help lead to all of the arts and STEM that we saw? Try to write an answer down on the side of your notes, please, and we'll go from there. Okay, so at this point, you should have a note sheet. Again, we made this note sheet. It's all filled out. If you missed anything, please go back and watch the video again. All right, the next direction is for you to please take your highlighter, and I would like you to highlight the 5 most important ideas from your notes. Okay, 5 most important ideas from your notes. You're going to go back. Make sure you have everything from the presentation, rewatch what you need to, write down answers to the thought questions, highlight the 5 most important ideas, and when you're ready, you can either show me in person or upload a picture. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Byzantine Empire.